I'm not saying it's always joy, but it's hard, but it shapes you and molds you to be a better person.
I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck, and we are
Gold Diggers.
It's not what you're thinking.
And we dig the gold out of everyday life stories.
Like today's guest.
Hi, my name's Dave. My goal is finding value in the ordinary every day.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So, Ange, what a day for a podcast. Pouring rain outside.
Back in the studio. And we're in a new studio.
We are. And it's just raining in October.
Well, no surprises there. I feel like it's been raining all year.
Pretty much.
on the Sunshine Coast.
The Rainshine Coast.
But we're in a nice plush new studio.
Yeah.
Which is gorgeous. We have a nice big blue velvet couch in here.
Yes.
This is a couch where like our guests can lie down. You know, one of those therapeutic couches where you kind of delve into their mind.
Yes. Tell us about your childhood.
Yes. So that's kind of perfect setup for that. So yeah, we're in a new location today, which is exciting.
Yes. And I believe that Sam has got an interesting question for us.
Fire away, Sam.
I do. Well, if you could pick weather for a year, what would it be?
I know mine. 100%.
Not rain,
Not
right?
rain. Funny that you picked that question today when we mentioned the rain.
It's raining, yes.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it, Ange.
Sunshine, 100% all of the way. I was built and born for the sun, which is weird because I grew up in England and you never see the sun.
Yes.
But yeah, sunshine all the way.
Sunshine, because you came to Australia to
Exactly.
see the sun.
We relocated our entire family to follow the sunshine.
Sunshine Coast.
Exactly.
Where it rains every second day.
Yeah, and I have olive skin, so it's not like I'm pale white and I would burn in the sun. So I actually fare pretty well in the sun. Obviously, we've got to be sun safe in this country, particularly in Queensland.
Yes.
There's a lot of health hazards with the sun, but it does something for your mood, doesn't it? Just like everything looks brighter, everything looks more wonderful in the sun.
Beautiful.
What about you?
Well, I like the sun, but I don't like February, March sun because it's just too hot. Not my cup of tea at all. But I did spend a beautiful week in the last week of September in Toowoomba, and we had lovely weather. So I would say spring weather is my favourite.
Okay.
And we tiptoed through the tulips and stopped and smelt the roses.
That just sounds so like you, Beck.
I know, it was so beautiful. I loved
Tiptoed
it.
through the tulips.
And we stopped and smelt the roses. It was for my birthday.
Were you at the
week
flower
too.
festival?
Yeah, we went to the flower festival.
how's
3
that?
days. So we stayed at this little Airbnb, and it was a cottage, and we stayed there for 3 days and went to a different garden each day, and it was just gorgeous.
Oh, and FYI, everybody, it was Beck's birthday
Yes,
too.
it was.
That's why you were there.
So another year older.
So happy birthday, woo! Happy birthday to Beck. She dare not tell us her age.
No, just another year older. 22. Stop laughing, Sam.
Sorry.
And so with that, we're going to cue in today's podcast with David McNair.
We've got Dave McNair on the podcast today, and we are looking forward to delving into your story, Dave. And I was wondering if you might have a question to start
I thought
with.
I'd get the spirit of Beck over me today because she always has these really unique first questions. So I have one for you. If you were a genre of book, would you be a fiction, a true crime, or a children's book?
Oh, I like it, Ange.
Yeah, I thought I'd go down the Beck book idea.
Fiction,
True crime,
or a children's book.
or a children's book.
A children's book.
A children's book. And explain why. Why would you pick that one?
The imagination that children have, the curiosity
Yeah.
I like it.
that, seeing the world through the eyes of a child is really important.
Yeah. It's true.
Now, we can lose that stuff as an adult, and all the pressures of the world get on us, and just the simple of being a child and being curious about things.
I love that answer.
Me too. And I've
great.
often talked about this sense of awe and wonder. And a few years ago, I kind of had a moment where I felt awe and wonder. And I was like, I remember feeling that as a child. But then as an adult, we just kind of our senses go and we just become so familiar with everything.
Yeah, and I like the idea of illustrations because kids' books have got a lot of illustrations in them too. So
Yeah.
pictures can tell 1,000 words.
Yeah, I read the pictures too.
And imagination is such a great thing that seems to get lost in this day and age, doesn't it? Because we're so consumed with so much information that we've lost our imagination.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
It is so true. It's so important for kids. And I think all the smartphones and everything, we've just got no imagination anymore, have we? It's
Yeah.
just like there was so much gap that we had to entertain ourselves as kids. So that's when your imagination
Yeah,
goes.
and that's why I love reading, because that simple fact, because you actually get to exercise your imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So what were you like then as a child?
I was a middle child, so I was like the meat and the sandwich between two sisters.
So you were the naughty one, were you?
Well, not necessarily.
Did your sisters
The
pick
troubled
on
one.
you?
Yeah, I suppose troubled one. Yeah,
It's kind of the job of a brother, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Unless
think
it
it
goes
is.
too far and then
But being
it's
the
not.
middle one would be hard as the brother, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think growing up with two sisters, not having a brother. I think went to a lot of girl things as well. You know, like be dragged along to. My sisters played netball, and I knew the rules about netball. Didn't play, or
Yeah.
you know,
As long as they
stuff like
didn't
that.
start putting makeup on you and that, because that's happened to my nephew who's got 4 older sisters.
They probably did.
But you know,
Did you have to side with one sister or another? If they'd be like, well, Dave saw it.
I used to pick on my younger sister a lot. My older sister was too cool for school because she was a bit of a pioneer. Like, you know, like this, the older sister I see as a bit of a, your older sibling's a bit like a, you know, they sort of pave the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but younger sister gets away with too much. So
Right.
that's why it's,
So it
Yeah.
sounds like it was a happy childhood, stable home.
yeah, my dad worked, my mum stayed home, looked after the kids often. She worked from home. She was what they call a home economist. So she did make wedding cakes for a living.
Oh.
From go to woe, like, you know, cutting the boards to making the cakes and that sort of stuff, decorating the cakes in front of watching the news and
There's such an
Yeah.
art to that, isn't there?
yeah,
Cake
yeah,
makers.
yeah.
So what did little Dave dream to be when he was growing up?
Oh, what did I dream to be?
I'm talking as a children's book.
I think I wanted to be a police officer early, or maybe a journalist.
Isn't that every boy's thing? I want to be a police officer or a fireman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of
Something
got
dramatic.
Yeah.
yeah, but I think I got turned away from being a police officer because they deal with all the hard stuff in life. You know,
Yeah.
to tell bad news to parents or
Yeah.
Yeah, I
first
always
scene,
think
no,
that.
first responder.
Yeah, I
It's
think
always a
that
tough
for
gig. Yeah.
police, that is a tough right.
So you say journalist. There seems to be a bit of a book theme going today. Writing, I'm loving it. Did you have an interest in English and literature?
No, I'm just interested in people's story. It's what drives people to be who they are. Yeah.
The study of human behaviour. So is that kind
Yeah.
of taking you down a career path of any sort?
I did youth work, but then I got into studied sociology and then social work at uni
Yeah.
because recognising, just wanted to make a difference in the world and to be the change you want to see in the world.
Where
Yeah.
do you think that came from?
Probably from my just Christian upbringing, really. I went to church as a kid and grew up in church and made a commitment to Jesus when I was about 18. And I think when I was about year 10, I did work experience with YWAM at school, YWAM's Youth with a Mission. And we used to go into the King's Cross area and from their base at Ryde and go into the city of Sydney. And I saw a side of life that surprised me because I was like a sheltered background, middle class, Sydney, you know, from the upper North Shore, from the lower North Shore, and that sort of life, just all the characters and all the different issues that presented themselves to people in a city that just fascinated me. Like, you know, it's like a whole underbelly of Sydney that I'd never seen before, and I think I was gravitated towards it. And then at the same time, there was a young guy in my youth group. There was this show on the ABC called Nobody's Children. It was like it's like 7 Up, you know, the UK 7 Up version where they interviewed 6 street kids and then they interviewed them like 7 years later, see how where they ended up.
Yep.
And I didn't know at the time that one of the young guys in my youth group was one of these kids. And I thought, wow, I bet he, you know, he ended up joining the Navy, and that was his kind of, found his people, you know, got him out of that bad situation. I thought, wow, if he can do it, that's amazing. Like, yeah, just wanted to help people, like in that. And I think too, my mum also I did a street van with my mum back in the late mid-90s, called City Care. So I used to go around the street, give out coffee and sandwiches and stuff like that. And they're kind of at heart for helping those in need,
Well, you're talking my language now, because I've done a similar thing in my past too. And I put food and drink in the back of my car one day and just drove into the red light area of our city with that same passion and desire just to want to make a difference and to just do something.
Yeah.
And the difference it made to me was surprising. Like it opened my eyes to a whole new world, like you said. But then the impact that had on me, and that really then changed the course of my life and what I started to pursue in life. Was that the same experience?
Yeah.
Do you think?
So what do you do now with that heart to help people?
I've worked in the homelessness space for the last 25 years.
Yeah, right.
Spent some time in Sydney working with some NGOs in Sydney. We used to go out and do street walks on the inner city streets of Sydney and meet kids where they're at, and then bring them back to our youth shelter. Not youth shelter, but it was like a drop-in centre.
Yeah.
That was down near Central Station, and just really meet them where they're at. That's really the key thing. And then I ran a house, like a little house in Sydney, little terrace house near Oxford Street, right near in Darlinghurst of all places, and that was for adults 18 up. I said, if you could beat your addiction here, you can beat it anywhere. Because often, if you walk out the front door, we had a lot of people who had previously been in jail, and if you leave jail and they say not to associate with other people in jail, then you walk out the front door and there's people and it's really difficult. And so, and there was people with addiction and all that sort of stuff. We had the community health centre across the road from where we were at, and so people dealing with mental health and all that sort of drug addiction.
There's so many complex issues, isn't there, particularly amongst the homeless community.
And it all stems from abuse or trauma or whatever it may be, and
even one poor decision. I always think, because I've spent time in those kind of environments as well, that we're only ever one decision away from that being us. And that always really helped me in terms of trying to put myself in their shoes, trying to understand life from their perspective, because that can be difficult.
Yeah, and we all make mistakes. It's just how you bounce back from your mistakes, how you deal with your mistakes and take ownership or responsibility, or try to better yourself in some way, shape or capacity. Yeah.
I grew up in the Salvation Army, and they've got a real welfare arm to that organisation. And we'd often have the homeless and the alcoholics come into our churches, and that piece of hope that we could give them, not we could give them, but that coming to church would give them as well, was huge. And you would see that change in them over the weeks, which was really beautiful. You would have seen a lot of change in your line of work.
Well, in Darlinghurst, in Surrey Hills, there was the Salvation Army Youth Space, run by Paul Moulds, and he was amazing. What they did with young people, and we get a lot of cross connection with them, supporting young people or adults. So that was really good.
Because there's a lot of hopelessness in the world, isn't there? And I guess when people are on the streets and they're at the end of themselves, really, aren't they? If they've got no home, they're looking for the hope. They're looking for people like you with the street vans to give them that way out.
I think people just need a sense of someone who believes in them.
Yeah.
Someone who's going to back them, support them, it's got their back.
Yeah.
That can steer them in the right direction or point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because, and somebody who's not flesh and blood, sometimes it's amazing. We get the opportunity just to support young people who are disconnected with their family of origin often, don't have that support structure around them. And I'm just amazed at people's capacity to cope and manage, and then to move forward in their lives. That gives me, just to see it gives me a lot of hope.
25 years is a long time to be in that industry without it burning you out. So how have you managed to kind of maintain your passion and enthusiasm for it?
I struggle with that too. I've got a lot going on outside of work as well. Married to Deb. I've been married for 19 years now, and I've got two teenagers. I've got a 16-year-old son, Sam, and, you know, a 14-year-old girl. Oh, she's turning 14 in Sunday. It's Ella. So I've got two teenagers now. So it's a challenge for me. I'm working with teenagers now. I've got teenagers of my own. So I don't know how that's going to go.
Talking about books, like
no, but that's been it's been a family's been grounding me in terms of for the work. So get support from my immediate family like that. It's just been. I think that helps ground you and helps you have a base to work from. I mean, we'll have our good days and not so good days.
Yeah, I just spent some time at Wesley Mission in Sydney, right there on Pitt Street.
Yeah.
They're obviously helping the homeless. You probably had some connection with them.
I used to work with Wesley Mission.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was that's when we went out on the streets.
Yes.
Yeah, it was called Wesley Mission Street Smart. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well,
it doesn't exist anymore, but yeah.
We were doing an episode of Humankind, which will be coming up soon. Yeah, at Wesley Mission, and they had some of the homeless coming in, and just talking to some of the staff there, like you could see some of the weight of the lives and the circumstances around some of the people's lives. You could see them how they would carry that. Most beautiful, compassionate, very giving, servant-hearted people, but it comes at a cost to us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And how have you seen that outwork in your life?
It comes at a cost. I mean, you have compassion fatigue often. I get that. My daughter has a disability, and so I'm a carer as well. So you get that carer fatigue as well. But you know, it's also it's kind of both sides of the same coin. It's a great thing to have that in my life. I have her in my life, like my daughter, and have a supportive family like that. I think I'm blessed in that regard because I can see that understanding just how it helps shape, understand difference and how everyone's unique.
Is there a moment in your life, I know we've had this bit of a theme about books, that you would say is like a bookmark moment in your life where things dramatically changed at one point?
Yeah, when my daughter was born in 2010, disrupted our family in a good way. Yes. Ella has Down syndrome, and actually this month is Down Syndrome Awareness Month.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's quite pertinent to be here in October.
Yeah.
Because we found out she had Down syndrome when she was born.
Yeah.
Didn't know in the lead up to that.
Yeah.
Going home and Googling Down syndrome, and you realise how many people abort, which is kind of like, that just blew my mind. Just that, you know, and I thought, why? And because there's such people who have Down syndrome, have got something significant to bring in the world.
One comment I always hear of parents who have a Down syndrome child is how much joy that child has brought into their life, because they see life differently, don't they?
You learn to appreciate life more, and you see their perspective on life and seeing how it helps you. You can't buy it. It's just such a gift.
Wow. You're really moving me now, because I have a member of my family who's had the exact same moment as you. They were having a baby, didn't know that there was anything wrong. At delivery, they were discovered that the child has Down syndrome. And this is very, very fresh for me, for my family member. And I think, you know, there comes a period of time of realisation. What does that mean for us? If you were to talk to them now, what advice could you give in terms of coming to terms with that? What does the future look like?
The future's bright. It's fullness of life.
I see a dad who's got so much love pouring out of him right now.
You're making me cry.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'm picturing my family and, you know, the hope that you can bring for them.
You know, we talk about all this stuff, you know, accumulating, you know, wealth or, you know, job opportunities or climbing the ladder, but it's actually, it flips all that on its head.
How much joy do they bring to your life? Does she bring?
Just can't measure it.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's always joy, but it's hard, but it shapes you and molds you to be a better person.
Yeah. How has it changed your perspective on life?
I used to be obsessed concerned about, oh, am I getting a better job, or have I got a job opportunity or promotion or this, that and the other, or better house or better, better wealth or whatever it may be. That's not relevant. Like, it's not even important. Like, it's understanding what's important in life. Your health, wealth, wealth being, just that everyone's health's good and you got a close knit family. That's like things that they're gold. Like,
yeah, you got Beck crying
now.
Oh my gosh.
The things we take for granted. Think, oh, what's the next thing I've got to do? What's the next thing I've got to look at?
I love this because we hear it so often about this sense of gratitude, and it's always the people that perhaps they can say, "Life dealt me a bad hand." That when they find that sense of gratitude, life looks so different. And the way that you handle and manage life is so different with this sense of gratitude. And I can really feel that coming across in you, in how you don't look at this as, oh, this happened, it took us by surprise. Why was she not born without Down syndrome? I'm sure you've been through a season where perhaps you've had those questions, but you've come to a sense that you just find joy in it. I'm going to the gold way too early, I know.
It's really just such a purposeful conversation. I love it because it really is about the gold that is in the people around us that we're doing life with, isn't it? It's our family.
Yeah, and you get the stuff
children.
like, my kids, tease each other and annoy each other and all that's just the normal family stuff, but it's going to be struggles, and there's going to be good things, not so good things, and all that stuff.
Do you think that this perspective is because you're around people that have really, lost so much in life, that perhaps it helps to put your life into perspective of the things that you do have around you? And, is that because for everyday person that just goes out to work, comes home to their family, perhaps we don't have the reality or the realization of how blessed we are.
Yeah.
But it's only when you're around those that have so little and are struggling and life's really hard for them that perhaps it puts our life into perspective a little.
I've been challenged how we live in such an ableist society. We don't realise it because we're so used to it. And people with a disability have to kind of fit into what we've set up. But shouldn't we fit society around them? Like, rather than trying to get them to fit into our our preconceived notions, but shouldn't they? So flip it.
Can you give us an example of what you mean by that?
Classic example, we'll go into a toilet, like just for example, and Ella will see a wheelchair sign on the toilet, for example, and she'll go, well, I don't want to use that toilet because it's for people with wheelchairs. Yeah. So it's not like, for her, it's like, so I thought, that's cute. That's a serious thing. Like, that makes sense. Like, So she doesn't see herself as, that's not a disabled toilet for her. It's like finding the things that unite us, finding things we've got in common. They're all people, like, we're all human, and it's just about being more kind to each other. I think we lose our sense of kindness and compassion towards others.
Yeah. You're going to make me cry again now.
And putting yourself in other people's shoes, putting yourself in Ella's shoes. How does Ella see the world? And Ella might just want that hug at that time, or, just the little things that this is how Ella sees life, and being able to step into that space for her. Is that what you've learnt a lot?
Oh, absolutely. I love just being a dad and a husband, and I think that's what's the amazing thing. The journey is to seeing her perspective on things, particularly like her perspective on life. And
I really love what you've just said about let's look at the things that unite us, not divide us. I've been thinking a lot about this lately because we can all live different lives. We all come from different backgrounds, and we can all often kind of gravitate to people who are like us, and we build our friendship groups around the people that are like us. But we never really grow or develop as a human to understand other people unless we step out of those comfort zones and embrace other people in our life. And for me, when I went and helped girls that were off the street, that was a complete opposite world for me. But I had that same realization. I had the question, how can I connect with them? How can I, that live so differently to them, be of help to them? And they were the things that I looked for. What are the things that unite us, not divide us? We all have same human needs. We all have the need for connection. We all have the need for love, respect, honour, kindness, belonging, all of those things. And it doesn't matter where we've come from. That's the beauty of our human nature, isn't it?
I love being part of the wider Down syndrome community. I think that's been really, that's another thing when you have a child with disability or Down syndrome in Ella's case, that you're part of a larger network that you wouldn't otherwise have. So that's just fantastic in that regard.
So how do you, in the people that you work with then, whether it's young people or people that are homeless, how do you find those things that you would unite you? What are those common things that you can share together?
A lot of people, including myself, you have that negative self-talk. And so it's that sense of you are enough. Now, I just turned 50 in September last year, so I think the older you get, the more you don't necessarily, they say you don't really care about those things. Like, it's more about, I kind of want to just be who I am and not to worry about pleasing people.
It's such a big thing, isn't it, for young people? That it's something that they struggle with, to have that sense of value.
And they're trying to find their own tribe, their own people, their sense of... I always find that I find young people like chameleons. They often change by who they associate with or hang out with.
Yeah.
And so they can be different people in different groups. So that's fascinating to me. Like, they can change.
What if their tribe is not good for them?
Yeah, that's the challenge.
But that's what to do then?
Well, everyone's makes good and bad decisions and stuff, but it's just being there as a parent going, hey, I'm still here for you. That's what I've got to learn as a parent, and I hoped that I would do that I'm there for them no matter what.
I was having this conversation with my daughter yesterday, and she was saying, because she's just on the end of teenage years now, and she said, Mum, it's been really important, and it does come back down to the family unit. Ideally, if we have a family unit where the child feels loved and accepted and that they're enough in that unit, that when they do go out to these other spaces, different kinds of groups and things, they already know they're enough to be enough in, like, just to keep being themselves in the different groups that they're going out in. And she basically said, Mum, because, our family has loved me, going to school, I've been able to just be myself. And I'm like, oh, that's good.
That's the best thing, isn't it? When I find that's goal when young people can feel just to be themselves, and that's enough. If young people, that's the struggle young people have, is just to find themselves, and often they're not fully developed yet, obviously, and they're trying to figure out where they fit in to society or to with their peers, and who are my friends, and why are those people not good for me, or are they good for me? So that's a big lot to negotiate, navigate. And
I was at a conference recently, and there was a panel of people, of experts up there, that were talking about this topic of young people. How do our generation connect with young people? And someone on that panel cut across all the responses that were being said, and he says, why are we saying how do this older generation connect with the next generation? Because we're all human, so we just need to learn how to connect with one another and not see them as young people, but see them as people.
Yeah.
And that kind of accepts them into our world and embraces us into their world. And so maybe it's a mind shift thing for us, is like how are we, what are we misfiring when it comes to connecting with our young people? There must be some simple ways.
I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because I think when we see people in a group of, this is young people, this is how do I connect between
we're segregating,
the divide.
we're dividing.
If we take that out and just go, I'm just going to talk to this 17-year-old the way I would talk to my 45-year-old friend.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get that connectedness because you're treating them with that respect and that attention that they deserve, just as you would to a peer.
Yeah.
So you're right. Yeah.
I mean, the pressures on young people today is just immense. Like, I can't imagine growing up as a young person today. It's just so much, with the likes of social media, and it, follows you home from school, or, just the amount of stuff going on today, and talking before about how the world's so, divided, And so trying to find your tribe can be a lot more challenging. And even relating to our teenagers, my kid, that can be challenging because, this is the first generation growing up with it. It's all, with tablets or social media as well. And so that's another level of we've had trying to deal as a parent that the parents before us didn't have to deal with.
Yeah.
So
it's a whole new world now, isn't it?
And I think even though social media, is meant to be a connector because you can connect to so many people, but it's also a disconnector because how many times have you heard people say that they feel more lonely with technology than they did before because they're not personally connecting, they're trying to live up to pretenses that they're seeing on social media. So there can be that disconnect and loneliness that comes from something that looks very busy and full of people. It's strange to think about.
We actually heard recently on one of our other podcasts that if you've got 3 best mates or 3 good mates, it actually is the perfect scenario. It boosts your mental health and can fight depression and anxiety and that. Well, I thought that was just like, it's so simple but revolutionary. And, these are the things we're not hearing, that just building 3 friendships. You don't have to build a huge network of people, friends, to feel valued. You just need 3. And so work on those 3 friendships.
Yeah, I heard someone say too about that social media thing about how it takes us away from being present in the moment. So sort of in a different world to what our current reality is, so it's like...
It's true, yeah.
And so we're actually missing out on what's in front of us rather than, and not relating in the being present. And that's a challenge for me as well.
I'm guilty of that too.
I'm guilty. I'm completely guilty of that. But it's just recognising that, hey, I need to switch off. I need to be more present in the current situation before me, whatever's going on.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because you can be having a conversation with a friend on a text while a member of your family is also having a conversation.
I know, you've got two-way conversations.
Okay, I'm just going to put that away and give you my focus. Then
I can't do 2 things at once. I can't.
And that's a hard thing too. We're trying to model good behaviour for our kids, and that's challenging. We're challenged as well.
Yeah.
So tell me, what has been the biggest struggle in your life and then the biggest joy?
The biggest struggle, I think it's just being being a dad, being a husband, because, you want to lead your family, guide your family, provide for your family.
There's a lot of pressure on men for that, isn't there?
In our parents' generation, it was always often the dad that go out to work and the mum would stay home, but now it's like both parents obviously, working that's just the necessity of life these days. But I think it's just trying to fit in both work and family life, have the work-life balance.
Yeah, such a challenging thing. I think that's like worldwide. We can all feel that because life is so busy. Like there's so many things to fit in, and paying bills and making sure you spend time with your wife and making sure you spend time with your family, going out to work. So there is a lot to juggle. So where do you find the joy in amongst all that?
I'm trying to find joy every day. That's the thing. Like it's there if you see it. Look for it. So my daughter always likes me to read books to her at bedtime, or
Well, it's funny I picked the book theme, isn't it? Really, it's obviously relevant for you.
But she didn't like me to read to her for the first few years of her life. Liked my wife Deb to read, but now it's kind of the roles are reversed a bit. So that's been really good.
Yeah.
I remember my dad reading to me, and it's always a special memory.
Yeah, that's kind of good because I find that, and that's kind of my escape. But then I've got to realise that I don't want to read, but it helps my imagination as well. But but that's been really good.
Well, Dave, I think you have such a beautiful heart, and you're full of compassion and empathy, and that's been a big theme throughout your life, even in what you've pursued in your life. Well, and it seemed like it came from a significant moment as a young man when you first went into those streets of Sydney and you saw life through a different lens. And I love how those significant moments in our life can lead us in a totally different track. And your life has been completely dedicated to the empowerment and the betterment of other people. And how you see the beauty in your family and the beauty in you know, what could have been seen as a traumatic, terrible thing that's happened in your life. You've found the joy in it, and you've brought the beauty out of it, and you can just see the love that you have for your daughter, for your family. It just shines out of you. It's made myself and Beck so emotional here today. So thank you so much from me for sharing your story, because I got so much out of your perspective.
You're welcome,
Yeah, particularly that bit that you said about let's look at the things that unite us, not divide us. I think if everybody did that, we would make the world so much a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree.
And I see you as being a very contented man. And I would say that comes right back from your childhood of growing up in the family that you did, and having a faith from a very early age, and knowing your value, and being solid in who you are, which then gave you eyes to see other people. And as you grew up and you saw the needs in other people, you were able to, you've got this servant heart, you've got this heart that wants to help people. And that is a common theme all the way through. It's like you've just been given so much love, like the love of God to flow out to other people from a young age. And as you've travelled through life, you've helped the homeless. Such a strong heart to set up houses to take people in. And that's because you've got your firm foundation. And then to have this child who needs extra love, and the love that pours out of your eyes for her touched us so much, and poured out of our eyes too.
Yeah.
You just
We're going again.
like you're a very rich man, and I love how you said your group's called Average Joes, but and you are just happy with everything you have in life, and it's beautiful. You've found the true gold in life. And I'm all teary now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very kind. Yeah. I think it's, wouldn't trade it for the world, as I said, but
So beautiful.
yeah.
Well, thank you for being with us today,
Thank
David.
you very much. Appreciate it.
I really
Thanks for coming.
loved ruining all our makeup.
Thanks for making us cry, Dave.
They're making me cry.
Thanks for listening to the Gold Diggers podcast.
If you want to be a guest or you want to reach out, you can do so on our website, thegolddiggers.com.au.
We also share behind the scenes footage and giveaways across our socials on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube and Facebook.
We dig for gold every Wednesday, so subscribe and follow now so that you don't miss a story that could change your life.
Honey, you're my sugar.